Hey, hello everyone. How's everyone doing? Um, Thank you very much for joining us on this AMA of May. Funny how we're about to enter the end of the first semester, so time flies, right? Very happy to be here to give you a couple of updates, but mostly I'm going to be answering today's community. I went and I saw there was a couple of no, it's actually a lot of questions that were quite interesting. So I think I'm gonna start just by saying thanks to everybody who's been following us. As you see, we keep growing. We're very happy internally as to how we are executing in RWA market. The first quarter was quite a rough one. A lot of expectation as to how the year could have been, but it was not. But second quarter, we saw an uptick on activity, not just on the token, which is obviously nice. You've seen we ran 100x 1 week, so that was 100x, no, 100% 1 week, and then we have maintained our value. So we're very happy as to how we're performing from a token perspective. But obviously, the token is just a symptom of the whole business itself. All right. So before we go into certain things that I want to discuss from obviously perspective from a business, I would like to just request a couple of things from the community because in the next couple of weeks, months, it's going to be quite interesting for us. What can I say? The first thing and most important thing that is going to happen in the next 6 months, besides our clients that we're growing, you saw our TBL, we went all the way to 35 million. There was a lot of issuance happening that got closed because obviously the economy changed. It facilitated a lot of things for our clients. We're super happy for all of those. We see that we were not expecting that TBL. It actually surpassed our metrics, our KPIs internally, that what we thought we were going to reach the first semester. So we have another month to keep being successful. So we already passed our threshold of what we thought we were going to reach. So now the expectations are obviously higher to grow in TBL. We actually position ourselves in base, I think, number one. Yeah, I think even in BNB, so RWA value we're providing is quite high. So we're super happy on that. That's just again a symptom of what we're providing is great from a technology point of view. You always hear me say that we have the best technology. It is true. User experience, we're gonna double down. We're gonna do a lot of changes on the platform just to facilitate for our clients the whole tokenization. So on that, what is the next generation of value for us? And one of our fellow founders and head of blockchain, Dario, created a standard. So, well, it's creating a standard. So the process for ERC20 to become ERC, it runs with a proposal first, so an EIP, right? And then the whole community and Ethereum developers and the community still have to argue what is it, if it's worth it. They have changes. It's a back and forth dialogue to understanding what can be standardized or create a standard, right? And basically, what we have performed now is we saw a couple out there in the market and we saw that it was not fit for various reasons. We don't want to, this is super critical, what I'm going to tell you now. And it's basically we are positioning as well. Dario created an EIP. At the end, I'll put it on the chat and you can review what it means and then the whole process because it's quite a standard. I mean, we never participated in creating a standard and now we are performing or pushing for one EIP to become a standard for RWA. We we've grown since 5 years, right? So we studied here, so there's a lot of know-how, and not only about the RWA, but also on what can be performed from a smart contract perspective. A bunch of different technology or ERCs have been deployed. We've seen a couple of things that kind of like the wallet abstraction is a specific ERC that has to be followed. So there's a lot of new know-how and ways that things have been performed. And when we studied the market, obviously at the beginning, we're talking about the very genesis of Brickken. We went and started seeing if there was something applicable that we could grab, like such standard, right? To be named, there's a couple out there. I'm not gonna name them because it does. It's besides the point of what I want to transmit. All right, none fit our perspective and infrastructure and technology because we wanted to be more template like. So we wanted more clients jumping in, we giving them the tech, but not being kind of like secure to us. And we didn't want to put them on a leash. That was the whole nut because it's not about decentralization only. It's all about scaling, and like you want to have a product that is scalable, and smart contracts is a key function for us. So what we studied the market, it didn't work for us. What was out there in the market. So now with all our know-how and position, the decision was taken that we should help our fellow founder for him to become the author of EIP. Um, th- Now, from the EIP that we are doing for the tokenization, which is 7943. And then again, I will put the links for you guys to know. I think some of you have already read the news because we're gonna be pushing hard. The idea, and it's why we're super excited about this, is because we really want to create something kind of like when you think of ERC20, ERC whatever, 741 or 14,000 or whatever it is, there's hundreds. We never think about who the author is. I mean, maybe that's a lack of respect in the sense that it would be nice for the author or authors to be named or contributors because it's not just the author who creates it, it's the back and forth contributor. I already left a couple of insights that I would like to understand if they're doable from a codification point of view. But the important thing is people use them for the sake of them developing an application or creating a new product or whatever. So the beauty of the standard is that it's a template for people to build on top, and it should never be used in the sense that it kind of like protects a specific company or a specific company uses for their well-being because it breaks the whole like abstraction, or I don't know what is the word that I want to use, like the concept of Ethereum, right? Because we're building technology for everybody, and that is why standards are super important. So based on that, now that we feel that we have the position to push for, we we obviously talking with various members in the back, not just from Brickken, from other providers and whatnot. It was clear that there was a possibility for us to create an EIP, and all of this is super important because this is going to be some of the things that we believe can really change radically the RWA market. So we are one of the igniters of what we really can be the next evolution of RWAs, because every company is trying to push a standard, but I believe they're doing it from a wrong perspective, because what we want is for really to create that ERC20 template format. And while we're pushing for the specifications or what it can be, creating something that can be used not just by Brickken but by anybody, but not being secluded by Brickken. We don't want to have that, because it's not that we don't want to be renowned or we don't want the market. It's just that basically we need the market to grow. And if our competitors or other tokenization platforms grow, the tokenization market grows. And then it's fair play. Like whoever the client chooses has to be because of value or pricing, geography. I mean, it's a fair play, and it becomes a fair ground for everybody, right? That's what we want, and it's actually what would be the best for the whole environment. Because if we were to say like, oh yeah, but if they use our standard, it's not that they use our standard, because if you create something in Ethereum which becomes a standard, it becomes from the community. And kind of like ERC20, if the people or the author or whoever was the igniter of ERC20 would have thought that no, this is mine and it has to be under my control and everything, nothing would have evolved on Ethereum. ERC20 became the template for absolutely all utility tokens, would allow us to evolve into then later the 721, because some things kind of like it was the genesis of the whole infrastructure of how it works. Thanks to ERC20, we can think about how that template format we can create an RWA. So it would be ridiculous for us to come forward and say like, no, this is my standard. No, no, we don't want it to be my standard. Or in this case, not even mine, because it's not Bricken's or Edwin's. It's the proposition from our fellow founder Dario, who is if you meet somebody who thinks decentralized, like that's the guy, like really how he thinks and he wants to pursue the whole thing is super fair for the community, but not just our community, other communities, other projects, and Ethereum community itself. And let's not forget, ERCs then get transformed into BR20, which is in BNB, or kind of like those standards then get mimicked into the all EVMs. So it's kind of like it's the butterfly effect. Like one single event can trigger a whole evolution of things. And I'm giving you all of this perspective because it's important to understand that the next couple of weeks and months we're going to be pushing hard for this to become a standard. So from the EIP, it gets accepted, dialogue, contributed, back and forth between hopefully a lot of players and then becomes a standard. And why is that important for us? It's because currently there's some place with other standards that are not contributing to everybody. So the environment itself is fragmented. Just imagine if there were different ERC20s, right? And one of them is pushing harder than the rest because for marketing purpose, they want to be the owner of the ERC20. And a lot of people try to play that, but once we enter into all of this, we understood that there was a lot of people not happy with the situation of that ecosystem. I mean, I'm assimilating this to the ERC20, and basically this is horrible. We a lot of players, we never played that game of that ERC, and but a lot of players felt like they were getting kidnapped in the sense that they were being used for the purpose of a single company to pursue their own goals, creating a standard that was not well done, because the whole evolution or purpose of that standard on RWA was to contribute to the well-being of that company. And a lot of people failed, like big institutions failed, but we also talked to some of the bigger ones, and they were like, yeah, but the standard, the architecture is horrible because we feel like we're secluded to that company or to the know-how or how it was created. So what we now have the opportunity to do, and now this is where community becomes super radically important, from not just Bricken's community and other companies, is we really need to bring um, standardization. Not, we need to bring trust again to the market that there's going to be a well written, thoughtful standard that can help every single company who wants to adopt that standard. So when we ignited this and we started, I came publicly on LinkedIn, where I do have a position of thought leadership, and established that, hey, we always thought that we cannot accept that, because that looks like a more like a dictatorship than actually what we want, which is decentralization. So why don't we go to the first common thought, that is, the standard has to help everybody, not just one company. So now that we have that position, it all ends up, because I needed to give you the introduction as to what is happening now, which is super important. I think this is going to be a great evolution, not just from a technological point of view, but also from a perspective. We are now in a working group with, I don't know, I think 10 companies. Some are competitors of us, direct competitors, like a client can pursue one of those. I'm not gonna say names, because right now we're all gonna do something. We're gonna push publicly into the market that we are combining ourselves for the sake of creating a standard that helps us all, for the sake of not just us today, but future players tomorrow. And I think that is quite kind of like what blockchain does, because this is, we're creating a whole new segment, right? We want to come in and say like, hey, like, we believe in the tokenization. We're the ones igniting it. Some may be better or not. It don't matter right now. What we only think that matters is that we want to create something that actually becomes a standard for the use of everybody. And that's kind of like actually something that is happening, that I believe personally is super cool, because we are talking with competitors, but we're not talking as competitors. We're talking right now as people looking, or companies looking to to break free from the shackles that were built by that standard and by that company. And then we have to establish that, kind of like, we want the fair ground. We don't want to get pushed to something that in the end is not well written, has a lot of faults, and the only thing that matters, as somebody pointed out, it's a marketing wrapper for another company. So now that we have that, we're gonna start requesting for the community to, to give us likes, comments, and shares, because the Ethereum community is gonna come. Probably the other companies are gonna request the same from the community, and then we're gonna showcase that, what you created as a standard lacked the whole thing that mattered, which was community. While now us, a bunch of builders in the tokenization vertical, could be directly as tokenizers or add-ons to that, kind of like lending platforms. We have an exchange already built in, or already trying to contribute. So we have a lot of different players saying, we do need something that is not owned by a company. And even though we're the igniters of this, or Dario itself and us backing him up on this, we don't want it to be Bricken owned. In the end, this is something that we're gonna create alongside the rest of players, and hopefully not a single logo gets attached. And in the future, people will not look at ERC. We won't look at the, oh yeah, the Bricken own ERC whatever 7943. It's not the case. It should be like RWA. The standard is 7049 because it's the one that actually allows us to build on top real world assets and tokenization of financial instruments is happening. That is the most beautiful win. When we create that, or because we believe strongly that we're going to be able to do it, then we are allowing the whole market to get tokenized because the standard of what we're creating is very lean. It's applicable and usable by everybody. It's for them to be more free as to kind of like utility tokens. There's a lot of functions that you can embed in an ERC20 utility, but you're not forced to follow a specific diagram. It's kind of like I'll give you the structure, but then you create your own recipe, and that's the beauty of it. So I just wanted to give you four because this is going to be a big moment in us because obviously we're going to be publicly speaking against a specific very color standard, and we're going to create a group of new companies who say like this has to stop now because this is actually what it needs to happen. We need to stop this because it's not good for the environment. Because we believe that institutions or certain big players they don't understand the structure of standards or things on happening on chain or smart contracts that they fall trap to something believing that is for the well-being when it's not. The outcome is not for them to contribute or grow in RWA, but for one company to capture or say that the value is owned by them. So that's kind of like it's a ridiculous factor. All right. So super long conversation around this, and I'm making a public statement because the next steps are going to be around the data. We're going to double down, and this is time where we request our community to back us up when we please request kind of like please give us here a comment or like on Twitter because we have to show that this is what needs to happen for the evolution of RWA. And as we are now partnered up with potentially companies that you know, and even in token side of things, maybe you have a portfolio with certain companies that you already have a token from them. Kind of like, let's go and really back each other's up. Let's create that huge community of tokenization players who are actually building something for the tomorrow. And why do we have to do this? Yes, we're competitors, and we'll still competitors. And maybe in this couple coming months, the client will have different offers from all of us. But in the end, it don't matter because the only thing that matters right now is for us to be able to bridge all the Web2 assets into Web3. And the most important thing is that for that, a company cannot do it. We really, our competitor is not each other. The competitor is the regulator who needs to understand what we're doing, the TradFi people who needs to bring the assets, the asset owner who has the access. We have other things that we have to worry. The macro vision is not us between us. The macro vision is how can we get all of that Web2 value or offline value into Web3, into tokenization. That is going to allow us every single player to grow. And maybe in the future, some might become bigger, some might not, but at least we will all play in an even field. And that's kind of like what we want. We want just fairness on the treatment. So with all of that, just make sure to give us a back on when we request and make sure to understand what we're trying to build, because if we succeed, maybe things change. And I can tell you that what you see in the front, kind of like the marketing and everything, in the back, there's a lot of politics in tokenization, specifically with things. And this is kind of like what we want to do. We want to break the shackles for whatever is happening that we don't like, we don't accept. And since we don't like it, we don't accept, now we stand up against it. All right? So EIP 7943, please take a look. We'll probably start giving you more information, more education. Hopefully, we're going to do some cross spaces with other companies who are pursuing and helping us build this. And in the end, we'll leave it for the community. We don't want to own it. It's not ours. It's for the community. Literally, this is what we have to do. This is something that we want to give to the community because in the future, something has to start for the end to actually come true. Right? Perfect. So with that, I'm just going to jump directly into questions that were thrown, and I'm going to read them, and then I'll obviously answer. If you have further questions, you can throw in the Telegram. Taking out of the hand, just before I read, if I read that question, I'll already answer. Listing, yes, of course, still happening. Nothing has changed. We're not blocking it. trust us. Please keep believing in us. If our token is performing like that without listing, then keep believing. We literally have a bunch of know-how. Every day that grows, more we grow from a strategically point of view. And the more we grow from a strategic point of view, the better we can take decisions. So I come in and say that we have zero doubts that we are right now making the right decision by not listing. Is it coming? Yes. We are prioritizing some other things in the sense that listing takes a lot of effort, which is not what we don't want. It's not like we don't want to work. It takes resources. Better spend resources can actually generate better clients or positions or marketing that can help us grow clients. It's a common thing to make a risk matrix and understand what we want to do. So it's not that we don't want to list. So taking out that question out of that and the elephant of the group of the room, like always, we are gonna list definitely, but trust us when we decide what is the right time. And seriously, I think we have proven that many decisions, even though they were not well liked, has actually managed to push us at least in a position that today we can talk about a 20 million market cap, where all the ICO buyers are out. We don't have any people holding. We have a lot of great things happening. Daily volume of 1 million. I can tell you guys that I know you probably have probably better companies in your portfolio or something. I'm not gonna say that we're the best, but we are most likely top 90, top 95 in the whole crypto market. In a market of 10 million tokens, us being top 5, top 10, it's crazy good. And not only that, we have proven the fundamentals. We have really grown into telling you that I don't know how many news we're shooting on a daily basis. That takes a lot of toll. Like being out there constantly building and showcasing because you need to prove your worth, that's crazy. And I just want you to value that. And we do that because we want you to understand that we're not hiding. We're actually continuously building, 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 building. That's the only thing that matters. And now we're even building with others. So this is kind of like we really want to grow and in a position that it's we're leaders in the space of tokenization, but also we understand that the position of leader entails certain decisions that you have to take, such as the IP. And with you, I wanted to say like our leadership is telling us that we don't have to list now. Even though Bitcoin broke the all-time high, fresh money, BTC dominance, greed factor, there's a couple of macro metrics that we need to figure out if it's true that we can consolidate and an outrun season is going to begin. It's going to begin. Until those parameters that we feel confident enough to make the decision to spend a lot, then it will not happen. So I understand and I believe and I know the sentiment, but the only thing I can say is I'll rely on the facts. That's it. Day to day, we've proven you that we know what we do. So keep believing. We, on the contrary, believe in us more because every day we're growing more, right? So TBL, a great factor. We're not steady, we're growing. Like we have a huge TBL, 36 million, like 35, sorry. I don't even know what is 35. I don't even know what is that amount. Like it's ridiculous. And when you tell all the companies or players or whatever, and you say that you generated on chain 36 millions of value, then that tells you that we are not just big mouths, right? So listing's gonna happen. Not gonna give a concrete date. It's gonna backfire on us. But do know that whenever we decide to list is because we know it was the best moment. And we might fail, but I would rather fail with that decision based on data and strategic positioning and analysis and everything than just for the sake of listing. Cool. So now, question number one. Let's go. Are there any high-profile projects, large companies, institutions, or firms currently in advanced steps to tokenize through Brickken? Yes, they are. Um, this is very hard for me not to answer because I'm excited to answer, but I cannot answer. So I will say, hoping by next AMA we can talk about it. How is that? I'm gonna give you a little bit of FOMO. We are working with some very cool projects. The more we grow, the more people acknowledge us that we are actually one of the main players in the tokenization. So kind of like it's a natural flow. Like the more you're out there, the more you grow, the more you showcase your value, the more you generate leads. And yes, we have one event coming up. I don't want to disclose yes because I can't. It's something that we're preparing. Obviously, from a marketing perspective, there's a couple of moving parts there. So the answer to say large companies, institutional funds, yes, without a doubt, I would say it's a fund, funds, yes, and a large company. Let's put it at that. Institution, what is it, a bank or we're not there? It's not because we don't want, it's just because of how slowly they can take decisions. We have been triggering certain other interests or companies or type of companies. And so far, so good. I think we're actually exceeding expectations. So for the next AMA, I promised and I put myself in, you can put it back. Oh, you said it was going to happen. If you cannot, if it doesn't happen in the next 30 days, you can come back to me and say I was full of shit. And it's fine, fair game, putting out there in public. But yes, there's actually very nice profile projects coming up. We're super excited and trusted because we're going to market a lot on it because we need it. We are playing now with different companies at a different level, and people are acknowledging us. And basically, that's great for the company. We're growing quite fast. Actually, we're growing super fast. I actually gonna say more because I'm excited. I think right now, and I think I said it, but now I'm gonna validate it. I think without a doubt, we are the company onboarding the most clients for tokenization. We're generating leads like crazy. Like if I know Web3 is weird because it's all wallets and transactions, and they forget the clients is the most important thing. And we run the company as a Web 2. It's crazy our procedures internally, and we're growing so much internally. We know how to execute the call to the lead to the client. We have a whole process. Like someday, I think we wanna. I will invite the sales department to do kind of like an explanation as to how we're doing it, and then you will understand how much of an expert on tokenization we are because you need to see how we perform on the field to understand that we are good. Because I'm telling you, right? And this is me saying it. But if you review and see, then you will actually believe what I'm telling you is true. I have no doubt that we are the fastest growing company in tokenization, and I have zero doubts with that. Zero doubts. Cool. All right. So number two, do you plan to introduce a decentralized governance models in the future where BKN holders can vote on platform development or approve tokenization? This is putting me against the ropes. We tested the DAO, didn't work. So no, the answer is no, but does not mean that we never take the feedback or things into consideration. We, I think the DAO movement was a great initiative in 2021, but it also was very slow and in decision making, especially when you're scaling operations and or you're growing as a company. The most important thing is how fast you can execute, right? Because every day it's a new opportunity or a new problem. Like literally, I mean, as a CEO, I am a cleaner of problems. Like that's my day to day. Like I wake up and hopefully I will sit down with you guys and IMA because I find this fun. But my day to day is not that. My day to day is making sure the company runs and that we have all the resources. And if a situation happens where there needs to be a decision and go full of it and make a strategy, that can literally be a thing of hours. Because if you slow, you cannot execute. So the DAO movements, I saw it as a very slow vehicle. We tested it. We saw it in other companies where you have to perform a voting, and the voting then there's a couple of things happening. Either it's a well voting, so you decide to make a new governance model that the contributors from everybody, but then a lot of people don't contribute. Only some people that may want to. So the process in itself, I think, it's a very beautiful thing to think. Like literally, the full decentralized autonomous organization as a concept is radically beautiful. But then that's kind of like just theoretically beautiful. Practically, it's not. So, do I want a DAO for Brickken? It didn't work, but does not mean that we don't understand the value of our community. And that's why when the person or people, because now it's a common question in Telegram, they have thought about Are you guys gonna open equity for BK holders? Yes, of course. We're gonna go for the structure that we already know works: company shareholders. So that's how you're gonna contribute. Whoever wants it. We don't know the metrics and the capabilities, but make sure that we understand the value of everybody who's here day to day, or whenever newcomers, outcomers, or people who leave and come back. They don't matter to us. It's a community. For us, it's not just a single person. It's a combination of different people. So we're definitely gonna open in when that's Series A. Yes, I think I already saw it, so it's not a secret. End of 2026, 2027, we're gonna open our Series A. We're gonna try to capture a big amount of money from different companies in VCs. We're gonna tokenize ourselves and give room to our token holders, more loyal holders, and everybody to be part of Bricken. And what is the difference between the holder and the shareholders? That's something that we learned with hacking. I think they did a marvelous work into combining both assets. Uh, I think there's going to be a couple of more tests. And it's not that we want to test it. I think we're just going to execute it and we're going to give it a go. And we'll figure it out before how everything is going to work, because both things are assets. It's not one or another. If we go for a pure accounting part, asset, asset, different types of assets. They're not cannibalizing each other. One has different pros and cons, one has different pros and cons. So, with that saying, it's not one or the other. Actually, one plus the other is what makes Bricken super powerful. So, we have to think that all we have to exploit all of our assets. And if we can let people jump in our different assets and be part of us, the more, because the more we powerful, the more we are, and the more we showcase that what we do it works. Tokenization works, and community works, and all of these great things that we believe, right? So, great answer, and I'm sorry for being so transparent. I know maybe some people say, "Yeah, we can create a DAO." Um, I believe theoretically in the concept. I'm a strong believer. I was actually I I study a lot on different models on 2021 because I thought it was going to be a new layer of governance for corporates. It's I'm an M&A lawyer. Corporate and governance sucks. It's super. It's it don't work well. But then again, the question is right now, we'll say democracy doesn't work. Yes, we know that, but it's the best model that we currently have until a better model comes. The problem with DAO is it kind of became the try to become the new model, but it didn't work just because of friction and slowness. That's something that nobody figured out before they went tested. So shame, but let's see. Maybe something mutates in the future, which is a combination of both. And hey, who knows? Maybe we're the ones inventing it, right? All right, cool. Next question. Do you plan to introduce a decentralized governance models in the future? Oh, sorry. Yeah, never mind. That was a copy. Okay, sorry. Third, how does Bricken plan to differentiate itself from major RW players like Securitize or Polymesh if they decide to aggressively enter the European market? Lovely question. So Polymesh, I don't consider them a competitor. They are coming from Polymath, which is their own blockchain. So they're playing in their own field through their own chain. I think that was a mistake. I was a big fan of Polymath back in the day, 2018. I think that was I started following them because they were doing something that I was actively pursuing, which was security token offerings. Now, the fact that they're in their own chain, I will just rely and say, go to blockchain analyzer and see how many transactions happen on Polymath. So that's all I'm going to say. Securitize, not our competitor, different types of the market. They go into a different trench. More like, is there potential partnerships in the future? Yes, of course. We grow into private markets, a specific sector, and they want to go more public. Some, I would say that Securitize in the coming 1 2 years, they're going to compete with Nasdaq. Bricken is not going to be a Nasdaq. We're going to be the first trenches of the capital markets, and if somebody wants to pursue an initial public offering, then we can send them to Securitize. Different trenches. We're not competitors. Not all companies want to do an IPO. Not all there's a lot of variables. So Securitize, a competitor in the sense that we're both in the tokenization. A real competitor, we have clients coming up to us from Securitize saying that Securitize didn't accept them just because they're in a different trench. So we are in a very specific trench. Let's not forget that when you are in a vertical, the vertical have subcompartments, kind of like have different subspecies. And tokenization, one, first layer, stablecoin, second TBUs, three, private credits, where we are. Private credits is a huge market. huge market, and private equity and public markets and public equity. So with that, I don't consider Securitize a competitor. Honestly, I could be wrong, but if we are a competitor, we're not worried. The market that we are is so big. We need different clients, asset classes. If they come big in Europe and they create a tokenized secondary market, I'm super happy for them. We'll be talking with them. We already have chats with them, very casual, friendly. So their success, I really think, is a success of the market. So it's a success of Brickken. The thing is, how we picture everything. Who competitor is, I don't know. But how do we, if they decide to aggressively enter the European market, now there's another thing. We're very good in Europe. So we just have to keep doing what we do. That's it. One thing that it's a norm here in Bricken is we never focus on the competitor. We built our own platform without checking other platforms. We drafted our own white paper back in 2021 when there was no ChatGPT without reading other white papers. We always focus on ourselves. The only thing you can control is your own company. So why would I figure on the rest, right? The only thing that matters is how fast and how quickly we can outperform the rest, and that's on us. All right, next question. Have you considered integrating modern layer 2 solutions like Celeste or CK Sync to scale mass asset tokenization more efficiently? Okay, so I think the chains currently that we have are very good scalable wise. They provide us with enough infrastructure for what we have, right? I mean, they say like, yeah, well, you need thousands of millions of transactions per second, and Ethereum is not there. Yeah, but we haven't not gone there. They did the Petra, so they're doing some optimization on that. So the question I don't think is, I think we can scale mass asset tokenization now efficiently. I think what we have now is efficient already from previous technologies. So Web two is inefficient compared to what we're doing, obviously. But what I would like to refresh from that is the CK sync. Zero knowledge, it's something that we definitely need to update. I don't know if this year is going to happen, but as more institutions, funds, and asset owners come, transparency and public is something that they're not used to. So something that we have been thinking as to should we incorporate CK in case somebody wants. So the answer is yes. Which one is it? I'm not going to disclose. We already have some conversations with some chains. Actually, one of our VCs come from the CK market, who's actually going to help us build something that is great. So we do want to integrate, for example, CK Sync, not because we believe that that's how we're going to scale, but because we believe that is going to provide an option to certain clients that they would like to have. Zero knowledge against public, I think that's going to be a decision very soon. So we need to be there in the zero knowledge ecosystem because I believe there's a lot of things for asset organization that in the very near future are going to make a lot of sense. Cool. Third question. In 2025, will we see a real public and scalable use of a company raising funds through Brickken and growing support thanks to the Web3? Okay, very good question. Yes, I mean, our clients are raising, right? I mean, we didn't reach 300 million total tokenized value doesn't come by its own, or the 35 TPL. So it's already scalable. Now, are they bringing their own investors? Yes. Web3 investors is something that we are constantly trying to educate. Even you as a community, kind of like, we need to understand how that merges into Web2 investment. Sorry, let me rephrase that. We want to build a Web2 ecosystem, a Web3 ecosystem. I'm blocking here. Sorry. What I want to say is we need to understand how we're going to bring the Web3 investors to the RWA, and that is with maturity of the market. We tried a lot when we started, especially when we launched with the 2023 token, and then we gave exposure to some of our clients. Unfortunately, very few acquisition was made because a utility investor is not an RWA investor, right? Utility is speculative. They go into very liquid markets, but it's also more dangerous in the end, right? Okay, we know what happens in certain thresholds or meme coins or whatnot. So the thing is, are we giving up? No, of course not. We just want the market to be more mature. Because what I don't understand is why certain investors, we put in certain as a whatever, they're ready to invest in a meme and lose it all rather than invest in a real estate giving them 15% APY. That's something that I don't understand. And until I understand and then see how we can we can move a certain investor to the opportunity and security of an RW investment, then we already won. But there's a couple of factors there, kind of like we need to understand when is it going to be rational for a Web3 investor to jump in and deploy in RWA. Because the funny thing is, we all look for huge, like 100 times gains, and now it's lower than in 2021 or 2017, when it was just absolutely ridiculous. But still, the sentiment stayed. So we want our community to be the first ones joining our clients' investment opportunities because they're a possibility rather than them investing in memes, right? We see a lot of people. This is funny, but I'm just putting the memes as an example because it's the most radical example, right? I mean, we see like, oh yeah, he became a millionaire, one of a million. I think it was like more than 95% of the people lose money in memes, and actually that's not in Twitter. We just see all the KOLs flashing some numbers that probably fake or not, or who knows. We know what is happening in all of those markets, which is completely corrupted. They snipe at the beginning, so but people fall for it. So what I want to know is when is the market going to mature enough for them to understand that investment in RWA it's more secure and profitable for them in the long term because 15% APY you don't get a lot out there. You go to the bank, they give you what 0.2. You put it in a secure model, maybe like one. If you buy a T bill, a treasury bill from the United States, that's a 4.5. But then you go to real estate, which is usually very good, and you get a 10%, and you're like, that's not enough. See, it's not that it's not that enough. It's that it's not enough for you. So for that to happen, we need to understand how we can bring maturity to the market for them to test something that is not 100x, but then they can feel the gains. Because literally, if you put 1,000 into one of these RWAs and you get at the end of the year, let's say €100, that's a very good earning. But then that's the problem. When we have this conversation, they're like, yeah, but I can put it in a meme and then tomorrow I have 1 million. Yes, you can also have zero. Like, don't look only at the up, look at the down, because most likely in the crypto markets, a lot of people have lost a lot of money, like crazy, crazy. So, I mean, maybe we have to think about both sides. But yeah, one of our goals in Brickken is to keep educating, to keep inviting. Right now, our clients are doing the races on their own. They also, some of them don't want us to even say, because they're like, no, 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 because the Web3 people. See, this kind of like it became really fragmented, the two ecosystem. But slowly, TradFi, Bitcoin, regulation, we're gonna be blending. So it's coming up, yes, absolutely. When? Hopefully faster than I think. And do we give up now? No, of course not. So with that, maybe we'll test again, trying to bring clients to our community. And I hope the community jumps in because that's the moment that we see that maturity is being acknowledged. And by maturity is not, please do not misunderstand, I'm not talking about mature person, I'm talking about maturity of investment for RWA. RWA investment in Web3 is still very immature. It has not reached the maturity level needed for that type of investor. So that's why we have to bring the liquidity from a Web2 perspective, that traditional investor, for them to invest in a tokenized way. And that's harder because we are teaching the Web2 how to use all the Web3 tools when they're used to just like send a bank transfer or whatnot. But that's when we have to understand that the Web3 who has all this knowledge and can go super DJ and jump into Uniswap, buy swap, go on liquidity provider over there, like that guy who has all the knowledge, that's the guy who needs to invest in RWA. That's when we understand that for us, the RWA it's growing in maturity. Okay, cool. All right, next question. Brickken has a great track record of community engagement. Is it one of the many strengths of the company? Is there a plan to do? Oh, is there a plan to do a utility to equity token? I answered it before. Yes, of course. 100% yes. When? I cannot say. 2026, 2027, we'll see. But absolutely, I have no doubt that the community should be enjoying the equity. And this is going to tell us something else because you guys, some of you, may be triggered to get into this, and then they will have a utility and a speculative asset into a conventional asset. So this is going to be an interesting use case for us as well because you won't have the volatility of a utility, but you will have the security, never better said, of the equity of the company and of the value itself. It's not that utility is not valuable by the company, it's just that the equity is solely valuable by the company. It's the only status. A utility can be valuable by the company or not. And I'm saying that because we see a lot of utility tokens out there with zero products, zero founders, and yet they're pumping. So it makes no sense. Uh, we'll see. But yeah, of course, count on it. And not just you. There's a lot of, I believe, utility token holders inside the company itself in Brickken that I would love them to have access to our equity. I mean, in the end, um, we believe in the community. If not, we wouldn't be doing this. So yeah, we like to be decentralized. And I think the winning factor is not a sole person factor, it's a founders factor, it's a management factor, it's an employee factor, it's a combined factor, right? And we strongly believe that. Let's showcase tokenization is doable, and no better player can showcase than us by proving itself that we got tokenized and we invited all of you in. All right. So I ran out of questions. I don't know if somebody posted out in no more questions. Okay. All right. So I just yeah wanted to introduce you today into the IAP, which is something that we very much are going to pursue. Hopefully, you join us into really decentralizing the standards of RWA, and hopefully we create a nice group of companies who are going to be backing this initiative. And that's going to be a big push. But obviously, on the other side of things, this is kind of like just our technology perspective. I can assure you that we have a lot of things happening, like always, clients, partners, all of this is still happening day to day. And yeah, keep following us, and please feel free to drop any feedback or questions. If you didn't got the answer right now, happy to answer in a Telegram. But if not, I'm off. Plus, I still got a couple of business calls to do after this AM. All right, community, it's been a pleasure like always, and wish you the best.